Good evening, and this is Unless the Lord Builds the House. My name is Kim Arismendez, and I have my good friend and dear sister in the Lord,
Erin Dickson.
Yes. It's so nice to have Erin in town. She actually came in for my baby shower this weekend.
Yes.
And I was actually thinking, like, who travels for a baby shower? She lives out in Rosenberg, Texas. And, she came in for that. And I always remember you saying to me that whenever you have a baby shower, I'm going to come in town. And I know a lot of people say a lot of things, but she came.
I did it.
She came
Yes.
and she's here. And perfect opportunity because there's so much about her that I admire. Um, as a mom, as a pastor's wife, just just for who she is. She's just she's just, what you see is what you get.
Yes.
It really is. So I was like, I'm gonna seize this opportunity and ask her with her availability, hey, come in and let's just have a little girl talk and
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited. Yet I'm nervous because I've never done this before, but I'm not usually in front of the microphone. But hey, let's do this.
Yeah. So I know that tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who is Erin Dickson, or who was Erin Dickson before? Tell us a little bit of yourself, where you grew up.
Okay, so I grew up here in the New Orleans area in Harvey. I was the oldest of two kids. I had a younger brother, and my parents got saved, I guess, when I was around 7 or 8 years old. And they always prioritized us going to church. So we did, the Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Monday prayer, all of that good stuff. But we also, I was also in school. I was not homeschooled, and they were both working. So it was the balance of a working family where both parents worked and school, was a priority. Education was a priority. But they also wanted to make sure that their kids did go to church and had a relationship with the Lord, just because they weren't raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got married pretty young. I got married when I was 19. So I've been married now for 21 years.
21. Wow.
Yes. So it's been a little while. It's crazy
So
to think of.
you were 19 and it's been 21 years.
Yes.
Wow.
So I've been married. We say all the time that we were kids when we got married. We had no idea. We were just playing house, and we really did grow up together and figure out this life thing together. So
that is so awesome. So your husband, obviously, you're a pastor's wife.
I am, yeah.
Pastor Brandon and you. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay.
You and him, 21 years. What's been happening in that 21 years?
Gotcha. Okay. So he grew up as a PK. He was a pastor's son. So I met him, and it was like I met him and then we were together, kind of. There was no like getting to know each other. We knew right away that we wanted to be together, and then we of course got married, and I have 9 children. So I'm definitely a mom. And my kids, my oldest is 20, my youngest is 3, so I have a range there. And then, of course, now we're living in Rosenberg, Texas area. The Lord had called us out there to plant a church, so we're planting a church out there and just doing ministry to that city.
I just go back to being 19, getting married. Like, were you both, like, you met in like youth group? Like, how did you met? Husband, Pastor Brandon.
Yeah. So I guess let me back up a little bit before that. I always say that I was really mature for my age, because sometimes I look back and I think of things that I did as a kid, and I was like, why would I even think to do that?
Right.
But when I was really young, maybe 12, 13 years old, I started just getting this feeling or this thought. I'm not one to say God said. I don't like to say God said everything,
That's
but
good.
A lot of times, I mean, it probably was God that told me, but I don't, I only say God said if I know 100% that it was really God that said. But so I had this thought, let me start praying for my husband.
At the age of
like 12, 13 years old.
Really?
Like, why? I don't know. But so I would pray, and every night before I went to sleep, I would pray for my husband, and I would pray things like, Lord, I don't know where he is or what he's doing or who he is, but prepare him for me, make him the husband that I need, make me the wife that he needs.
At the age of 12.
Yes,
Did your
and
mom and them know you were
no,
making
they had no idea. No, this was just something, and I don't ever really told anybody. I mean, I've told people now that, the
Yeah.
testimony of it, but I never. And I would just pray, that whatever I need to be for him, that I would become that woman and that he would become the man that I would need. And there would even be times, and that was kind of like every night, but I even remember times like maybe during the day, all of a sudden I'd get a thought like, you need to pray for your husband. And I don't even know. And at those times, I would always think, well, maybe whoever he is in some kind of danger, or maybe he's in some kind of situation. And I would just pray,
Right.
Lord, I don't know what's going on, but keep him safe, be with him. And so I did that, and then I always knew that, people talking about, "Hey, make a list of what you want," and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, that list is so long, it's like, "What in the world?" But for me, I had 3 things. I wanted it's kinda funny, I'd say it's up somebody that I thought was good looking, and I never had any specifics on that because I said, "You know what? God knows what I think is good looking, so I don't need to, like, say that,"
So
right?
he had to be good
He had to
looking.
be good looking. He had to be somebody that loved the Lord,
Love the Lord.
and, I wanted a preacher's son.
Re-
Yeah, and I don't know why, because a lot of times PK kids are not really the best people, honestly. A
Yeah.
lot of times they bitter at the church and they backslide and stuff like that. But in my mind, I thought if he was a preacher's son, then he was probably raised right and he had probably had a good father figure who gave him a good example of what a husband and dad should look like.
Right.
And so that was the 3 things. And so fast forward a few years, I guess I was about 16 years old. I was going to a church. I was just kind of going to church, I think because that's what my parents made me do. I would not say I was really like sold out for the Lord at the time, but it was,
Yeah.
I had to go to church. So I went and I didn't argue about it. Um and I had a friend of mine who invited me to attend a youth group at another church.
Okay.
She had friends that were at that church, and I didn't know anybody there. And she asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, "Sure, I don't have anything else to do on a Friday night. Let's go." But honestly, I was thinking, I wish I could do something else, on this Friday other than going to church. But I'll go because there's
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
So I went, and when I was there, it was his dad's church, so it was the youth
Okay.
group that he was there, and he was playing. He was in the youth band, and he
Okay.
at the time he was the electric guitar player, and so he was playing electric guitar, and I saw him playing music that night, and like even though he was playing electric guitar, he was legitimately worshiping,
I gotcha.
and I guess he was about 17. And that really stood out to me. And I was like, oh, he's pretty good looking. And he's really worshiping the Lord. And I
Wow.
didn't know any teenage boys at that time who
Hmm.
legitimately looked like they loved the Lord.
Right.
And he did. So that kind of stood out. But I didn't really give it no thought other
Right.
than, wow,
Mhm.
look, he's really worshiping the Lord.
Yeah.
And then later on that day, the announcements came and they made an announcement that the youth group was going on a ski trip for Mardi Gras. The whole
Okay.
youth group was going to go to a ski trip, and it was like super cheap. It was like $100 for the week or something. And I was like, I've never been skiing before.
Yeah.
I want to go skiing.
Okay.
So I started going to his church because I wanted to go on that trip.
Yeah.
And so I figured that didn't know anybody in this youth group and I wanted to go and I needed to make some friends if I was going to go with them on this trip. So that's why I started going, and needless to say, I really didn't become friends with anybody but him. And then and so and so that's how it started.
That is
And yeah.
awesome. Well, he does love the Lord. He
Yes, he
is a
does.
preacher's
And
kid.
I think he's good looking.
I think everybody thinks that with his what he has like what blue eyes or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
blue eyes. Mhm.
We love Pastor Brandon. Everybody does. He's the most funniest.
Mhm.
Everybody's like,
Great
everybody's
personality for sure.
awesome. So all right, so fast forward, we know how you guys met. So what's life, daily life for you guys? Now you've shared being married
Mhm.
for 21 years.
Mhm.
You have 9
I have
kids.
9 kids, yeah.
What's daily life like in your home? Get up, make pancakes, eggs.
Um Yeah. So I'm a homeschool mom, so I homeschool all my kids. Of course, now some of the kids are getting older. So like my oldest, that's 20, he he gets up, goes to work, has a job and all, has
Yeah.
his own life
Right.
basically. I have one that's already moved out, so
Awesome.
so I'm not tending to her anymore. She moved out of state, and then but the other ones are home, and yeah, actually I do get up and I cook breakfast every morning because I realized that feeding them all that sugary cereal and
Mhm.
all of that stuff for breakfast made it for a really hard school day to give them all that sugar. So I either eggs or toast
What's
or
your
something.
tip in regards to cooking for a big, a big family? Like, do you have any little tips? Like, hey, if I'm gonna I make pancake from scratch, or is it frozen pancake? Like, well, what's your little tip? Like, what's a quick
Meal wise.
Dixon's breakfast looks like? What's a quick as in Erin got to
Yeah.
make breakfast? These
So
kids,
scrambled eggs are really fast. I
okay,
can, and we for breakfast we need about 2 dozen of them. So
2 dozen.
yeah. So and then I usually can do that, and I can get somebody working the toaster to get toast down,
Awesome.
or biscuits if we do. Sometimes canned biscuits, sometimes homemade if I feel like
Yeah.
doing that. But
And
um,
and then, oh, were you gonna say something?
I do pancakes because pancakes are cheap,
Okay,
but I gotta watch because I don't let them do too much syrup because
syrup.
that's all the sugar. So I portion out
You
the
portion it out.
syrup. Yeah.
Now, in regards to homeschool, for
hmm
any homeschool viewers, mom, like, have you within the years have you changed a curriculum?
Yeah, I've done
Have
different
you?
curriculums over the
Yeah.
years.
Okay.
So, for me, because I homeschool, I think I have 6 kids in school right now, and it's like 5 different grades.
Okay.
So it's I'm not the mom that's gonna be like doing research and every day go and find little, like making my own curriculum, right?
Okay.
Because I just don't have time to do that for everybody.
Right.
I needed to have a curriculum that had everything there.
Right.
And then also because I have so many grades, I can't like do a lot of prep work for each one. I need like an open and close, like
Okay.
this is everything here that we need. So over the years I've done different things, but right
Hmm.
now we've settled on the good and the beautiful is the
The
curriculum that
good
I
and
use.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
So is good and beautiful covering all age groups?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
does.
And
So
okay.
all the way from preschool through high school. Yep.
All right. So that sounds exciting.
hmm
Very exciting. So tell me, what is the greatest joy you found in raising a big family, a large family? And even too, was this something like at a 12-year-old, a 19-year-old, where I want to have a big, like,
A big family. So we always said, I don't
Uh-huh.
know where this number came from, but we always said we would not have any more than 7. That
Yeah.
so that we would have up to 7 kids. And so I guess we always did have in our mind that we would have a big family if we were
Yeah.
willing to go up to 7. Why we said 7, like I
Yeah.
said, I don't know. Um and then I don't know, 8 and 9 came, and there we go. So yeah, so
Yeah.
we did plan on having a big family. Not that we came from big families. I mean, I was one of 2, he's one of 4. So even
Right.
still, it's a bigger family having 4
Yeah.
kids, but it's still not
Yeah.
huge like we are.
What would you say is the greatest joy for you as a mom, like, or for you and both of you together,
hmm
Pastor Brandon and
Um,
yourself?
it's to be just when now, of course, when you have so many kids, I mean, it's hectic, it's crazy, we're busy, right? There's always a child that needs correction. There's always, but you know what? To sit back and just watch them, especially when they get a little bit older and they kind of get in their independence and and
Mhm.
you're starting to see that they're applying the different principles that you've taught them all along. When they're all young, it's hard. Like I had my first set. I had 4 kids in 5 years,
Four kids. Okay.
and then I took 5 years off, and then we had 5 kids in 6 years.
Okay.
So of course, when you have the 4 and 5 years, I mean, they're even the oldest one's still a baby, and you're having
Right.
number 4, right? And so it's crazy and it's hectic, and because you have to, I had twice, I had 3 kids in diapers at once. So you're always changing diapers and cleaning messes and sippy cups, and you feel like that stage is gonna last forever, and it's so
Mhm.
hard, but you go through that. And then once they get a little bit older and you really start seeing that, hey, like they did listen to what we've been teaching them all these
Yeah.
years, and they really are applying and
Yeah.
and doing these things, and to watch them to start become successful and
Yeah.
making their own decisions and stuff.
Can you look back on any the challenges that you would say, you know? in like things that you guys probably one thing that you can think about, like a challenge that you guys have, dealt with raising a family, or
I mean,
any
there are
challenge,
so many
many.
challenges, right? Especially with a big family, Of course, I guess for us, just because of the life that we've lived, and we never really had full-time jobs. We've never really had um dependable income and stuff like that, where we knew, hey, we're getting paid every 2 weeks and this is going to be.
Hmm.
I would say finances was a challenge, but the Lord
Yeah.
always provided,
Right.
everything that we needed and stuff. And then of course, you're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days, and you're gonna have days that you look back and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm a complete failure. Look, everything's falling apart." But
Yeah.
but then you just go and you rest, you take a breath, go take a shower, so then you can get away out of the noise for a minute, and then you come back and then you realize, "Hey, God's got us."
I remember couple years ago, I think it was for coming up for a Mother's Day,
Mhm.
and you every day you wrote a post
Mm,
on something,
yeah.
and there were a couple, I just remember you writing about, like, getting probably one post about article about getting all kids ready and just going to church,
Mhm, mhm.
and we probably wouldn't be as, everybody's perfect with the bows and the everything like that,
Mhm.
or but we're there, we're in front, we're
Yeah.
worshiping the Lord. And I mean, that's very, like, you see it all the time. I've always observed that, you're in the front row with the
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah,
Pastor
yeah.
Brandon is leading worship, and
Yeah.
you guys have always set that
Mhm.
standard in regards
Yeah,
to
he
that.
always wanted us in the front, so we in the
Yeah.
front. Yeah, and honestly, it I get distracted if I'm not in the front. There's so many things, there's so much going on, and when you're in
Yeah,
the front, you don't see
see
everything else.
anything. All you just
So,
see is
yeah,
that's
and
okay.
it's hard to, because 'cause I'm, like, fighting to make sure my kids aren't distracting everybody else now that we're in
Right.
the front, but still, just you're able to really focus on what's going
Yeah.
on and focus on the
And I
Lord.
mean,
And
like, over the
yeah.
years, just adding on, growing your family, and
Mhm.
but you're still at the front worshiping.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that there's just something just significant about that.
Mhm.
Man, Lord, we're gonna come worship the Lord, and we're gonna forget about everything else. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter,
Mhm.
who's probably looking on behind and
Right.
thinking we're distracting, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna worship the Lord. And
And it's so important to start that stuff from day one. Because, like I say all the time,
Mhm.
like, if you don't say, okay, this is the age I'm gonna start prioritizing, I'm gonna make sure that my kids are really paying attention in church, like, oh, I'll let them, play on the iPad, but once they turn 5, then they need to start paying attention. Or once they turn 15, then they
Right.
got it. There's no magic age. But like when you really start from day one in the beginning and you raise them up doing these things, then I feel like it just helps the fight that comes later,
Well,
because, and I say all the time that God is so good to us and to moms. And when you think, even when a baby's born, like something as simple as dirty diapers, right?
right.
Like typically, a newborn baby doesn't have a stinky, dirty diaper, especially if it's a nursing baby.
Right.
Formula makes it stink, but in the beginning, the poop doesn't start stinking
Right.
until they start getting other food and everything, and that's what starts making the smells.
Right.
And so a lot of people are like, I don't know that I could change dirty diapers because I can't take the smell. And I'm like, but no, the Lord has set it up for us where it doesn't smell in the beginning. And He
That's awesome.
gradually makes it worse. And then all of a sudden you've accustomed to it, and then you can do it. Right. And even like a baby, you think when a baby's born, they say something like a baby will sleep 20 hours a day.
Mhm.
And it's like the Lord gives us this baby, but He gets us accustomed to taking care of it. From day one, you're not overburdened with all of this thing and a baby that's crying all day and having to do all
Right.
this stuff. You gradually, more and more as time goes by, you're having to do more and more for the baby. And then before you know it, then the baby's awake and you're doing it all the time, right?
Yep.
And I say that's kind of like the same principle with kids. Start in the beginning teaching them to go after the Lord. Have them in church, have them in worship,
Mhm.
let them see you worship. When it's time for prayer, I know a lot of times people will see Brandon, like during prayer nights, he'll hold the baby and he's walking around the building or whatever, holding the baby, and he's praying out loud so that the baby can hear him praying. And that's from the beginning, that's teaching them, okay, this is what we pray, and this is how we
Wow.
pray, and this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And start from the beginning. And then that way, now, of course, it's you're gonna have when they get a little bit older, they're gonna get antsy and they're gonna make noise and they're gonna do all that stuff. But prioritize keeping them there. And every mom has gone through the, is
Mhm.
it even worth it me going to church? I mean, I'm fighting with the baby the whole time. I can't even sit in church. I'm in the hallway because the baby's crying the whole time and I can't even listen to the message. Yes, it's worth it because if nothing else, you're teaching that baby that going to church is important and it's a priority. Even if you're not getting anything out of it, you're training that baby that as a family, we are prioritizing this.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing that's going to
Mhm.
stop. There's no hardship that's going to come in our way for us not to.
Yeah.
Because if we start pulling away at that point, then, oh, well, now they we got a birthday party or now soccer or now baseball, and then we become okay with all the other reasons to miss.
Yeah.
But if we just say, hey, nope, I'm going and this is what's important and we're going to do it. And so even going back to the front row is put them in the front row, and that way, first of all, they're not seeing all the distractions of the kids behind them running around and stuff like that. They're focused on, and then you could, and in the beginning, worship is distracting, right?
Right.
Like, hey,
Right.
look at the
Yeah.
drummer, look
Yeah.
at like, let's dance, let's
That's
jump,
that's so
Mhm.
I like what you're saying here because you know because I like that you talked about prioritizing,
Mhm.
putting the kids up front first. Let them be know that this is what we do.
Mhm.
And I think that's like we don't think that. We think about let's do what's best for the baby, right?
Right. Yeah, no. And you have a life already set up, right? So you need to bring that baby into your life and teach that baby to live the life you live.
Wow.
You don't conform to what that baby wants.
Right.
Because the baby doesn't know what it wants.
Right.
The baby doesn't know anything, right? I mean, and that's what happens is so many times as parents let the baby train them rather than them training the baby.
Yeah.
And so we need to train the kids and not let our kids train us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, as you made mention of, probably touched on having kids, in church and the baby and the
Mhm.
family. Is there any other thing that you would say, apart from prioritizing, any important thing you would want to probably say to listeners, believers that are looking on moms, wives,
Mhm.
families? Any other tip again about how to, you know, families staying in church, being involved, being connected, and not being like, drained out because I have one kid, I have two kids, and I can't go out and do this. I
Mhm.
have to.
Right.
Is there any?
Yeah, and we've always prioritized doing ministry as a family. I can remember, and of course, I was 20 when I had little Brandon, so
Okay.
my first son, and he was maybe a week old. And at the time, Brandon was starting to get different invitations to travel different places and going out of town to
Mhm.
lead worship and all of that stuff. And I remember sitting down and talking to him, and I said, "You know what? Like, we have a family, and I know there are wives that do this, and I'm not saying it's bad. But
Yeah.
for me, I said I am not going to be the wife that sits home and raises the kids while you are traveling the
Yeah.
world doing ministry.
Right.
Like, that's not going to happen." I said, "So whatever ministry that we do, we need to do it as a family." I said, "Because you need to be here to raise our kids too. And this isn't just me raising the kids. Like, they need to have their dad. And what good is it if parents or dads are traveling all over the place doing this ministry, which is wonderful,
Mhm.
but they're not ministering to the disciples that the Lord put in our home, you
Wow.
know?" And so at that point, we decided that no matter what ministry we did, that we was always going to do ministry as a family. And it
Wow.
wasn't going to be Brandon's ministry. It wasn't going to be, me and him, but we was always going to do things with the kids.
Mhm.
And so now, because of the dynamic of our family, we
Mhm.
have we have kids that are adults, we have kids that are teenagers, we have kids that are toddlers. So we've had to learn how to do ministry based on all their ages, right? So obviously, when we come in town, we go to Bourbon Street and we'll bring our adult kids, we'll bring our teenage kids, but we're not
Mm.
bringing the younger kids to that.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to find ways for our younger kids to evangelize as well, because it's important that they know how to do that and know how to do ministry. Because, like I said earlier, what would be the magic age to say, okay, now you're 10, so you can start going to evangelize? There is no point. But if we're training them up all along, then they can do it. Because what happens is a lot of times people will say, okay, we'll start when they're 10 or they're 12 or whatever. Well, by then they're nervous, they're scared, they got an ego, they got peer pressure and all that stuff. But if they were raised all along doing this, they don't realize they should be nervous or scared. They just think that this is normal because this is what they've always done,
Dang,
right?
that's awesome.
So because now the older ones will do that club bar scene, but our younger ones will do things like go and stand in front of our grocery store. We have Kroger in Texas, and
Mhm.
so we'll stand out in front of the grocery store with the microphone, and the thing is letting the kids do it. Of course, they're gonna say silly things. They're gonna say things that might not be scripturally sound or whatever, but we have to let them do it. We have to let them get the microphone and make goofy noises if that's what they're going to do, because it's teaching them not to be afraid of the microphone. It's
Yeah.
teaching them that it's okay to get it and say it. Now, we don't let it get out of hand and we're like, okay, that's enough. Let somebody else have a turn. But still letting, it's okay if they
Yeah.
look silly. It's okay if they don't say the right things. But it's more important for us to start developing their little personalities and not get them afraid or scared about being on the microphone and wanting to speak than to make sure that we're doing everything,
Yeah.
every word out of their mouth is doctrinally correct, right? But yeah, and that's what we've done, as far as, and there's been things that have come up that we knew we couldn't do as a family. So
Right.
we chose not to do those go that route,
Yeah.
and to only do things that we can do as a family as far as ministry goes.
Yeah. Now, how would you say? Well, can you remember your first kid, or who was your first kid that probably went on the mic? I don't know if who went on the mic, or who played the first instrument, who surrendered the life, gave the life to the Lord first.
I
Do
mean,
you know
little
another?
Brandon for sure would have been the first one. Just because when he was younger, we were still living here in New Orleans. So the
Right.
main ministry that we were doing was Bourbon Street.
Hmm.
So with him being the oldest, he was the first one to go out. Um, and then he's just kind of, I can't remember. We had an age that we would say that they had to be a certain age before they went out there. It might have been 12 or something like
Yeah.
that. Just because Bourbon Street has a
Yeah.
lot to look out, right? And there's things that you just don't want all your kids to see,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we had to make sure that maturity level and all was good. So I think 12 is what we did. Um, Now, there've been times when some of them even really young, 3, 4 years old, that I can remember. It didn't happen with multiple of them, so I don't know who was be first. But at church where I would see them on the altar and they were legitimately
Yeah.
crying out to the
Yeah.
Lord, and you knew that they were having
A
a
God
God moment.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go home later and you're like, tell me all about it. And so, but yeah, and some of that started early on for some of them.
Yeah.
So.
What would you say? Is there anything that you would really say that really kept your family and your marriage and just ministry and everything like Christ centered? Like what would you say? Like, how did you keep that?
Mhm. Definitely having a husband that prioritizes the things of the Lord in every area of our life,
Wow.
And we don't just have Sunday morning church, and we don't just go out, Friday night to evangelism, but he does. We'll do family Bible studies in the house,
Wow.
and where he'll sit everybody down, and we'll do a little bit of worship, or we'll do prayer. It's different, and of course you have, we might start off as the whole family, but we understand the 3 and 4 year old, they're not going to sit as long as the older ones. So as they get a little restless, then we'll
Yeah.
let them go,
Hmm.
because at the same time, they just become distracting for the
Yeah.
older kids. So we let them sit as long as they can, and then we'll let them go in their rooms or whatever, and then finish. But making it where it's not, we don't just, Brandon a lot of times will say things like, you see me worship the way I worship, or you see this passion, or you see that I go after the Lord, or I preach, or I read my Bible and stuff. And people think that I do that because I'm a pastor. But that's not the truth. The truth is I'm a pastor because I have done these things, and these
Right.
things qualified me to be a pastor. It was
Mm-hmm.
my love for the Lord first, going after the Lord, and then that's what caused me to be a pastor, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm called. So so no matter if you're in ministry or not, a lot of times you can get so caught up doing the ministry and doing the things that we forget that, hey, we're in this because we love the Lord,
Right.
right? And so prioritizing that and making sure your kids know. A lot of times as parents, it's it's tempting to always, maybe read your Bible or pray and all, like alone in your room by yourself and stuff. And we need that time because it's hard to get with the Lord
Mm-hmm.
when you have, in my case, kids all over the place. But we need to do that, but also we need to let our kids see us too. It's important that
Mm-hmm.
our kids see us in the word. It's important that our
Yeah.
kids see us worshiping and they see us praying, and so that they realize, hey, mom really does love the Lord and this is what mom does. Cuz I've seen where
Mm-hmm.
kids grow up, and even kids that have been in church, and they really don't know how to do these things
Right.
because it's like, I guess parents a lot of times just assume that because the kids are being raised in church that they know, and they've seen it. But for so many times, so often, you're in your room studying or praying or seeking the Lord. You're on your face, and your kids don't see you, so they hear that you do it and they know you do it, but
But
they've
they're
never
not
actually
seeing
seen you
it.
do it, so they
Wow.
don't know what it looks like. So it's important to let your kids see
See.
that relationship with the Lord too.
Wow. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, this is a. I'm taking all these. I'm taking all these good tips that you're sharing because, oftentimes it's the opposite. You know, for some parents they have to have that time.
Mhm.
I gotta have my time with the Lord. Like
Right. And you
let
do need that, but you
and
need
we
to
did.
do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I mean that is so awesome. So, you and your husband deeply involved in, planting, church planting.
Mhm.
How is that like over the years? How has that have changed? Because I knew like when you guys were here, you were doing Adopt a Block, Pastor
Mhm.
Brandon being like over the years it have changed and like, you want to share a little bit on that? Like how it
Yeah.
has gradually, because I'm pretty sure like probably the Lord has spoken to you guys something like 5 years ago,
Mhm.
but you didn't had you had to wait such a
Oh
time.
yeah, for sure.
Is there anything
Mhm.
that in regards to
Absolutely.
church planting and
Yeah, well, it's changed over the years. When we first so when Brennan first became a pastor, he originally he was taking over his dad's church.
Mhm.
So of course when there's a church that's already established and you're taking over, it's a lot easier. You just walk in and you start preaching, and the people are there and the
right?
finances are there and the building's there and everything's there, all the resources.
Uh-huh.
And then from there we broke away and we planted our own church, his church here in Westwego. And then again, that's still, for lack of better words, church planting is never easy. There's
Right.
always Ministry is a challenge.
And what age are you
And
talking about you guys were just to find out the age that
okay, so he was probably 25, I
20
guess.
25,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a pastor
Mm-hmm.
and probably what two kids you had who by
By then we had
Mackenzie.
four.
Four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
25, four kids,
Yeah.
full-time ministry. You
Mm-hmm.
guys are doing ministry together as a family.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Wow.
Yeah, and so then we broke away from his dad's church and we planted his church in Westwego.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it it kind of came easier because when we left the church, a lot of people came with us. So we already had a group with us, right? And so when you have people, then you have finances. At the time, we had a lady that opened her home to us and let us meet in her house.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Lord worked it out where we were able to get into a building rent free for a year, which is amazing.
Wow.
That doesn't happen often. So that happened. And then so then that was the first church plant that we did here in Westwego. But then the Lord called us to Rosenberg. And basically, in short, the way that happened was we knew that we were here in Westwego, and we felt like our time of ministry was coming to an end here. We felt like we had did everything that God had called us to do. and there was really not much more for us here.
Right.
And so there was maybe a 2 or 3 year period of like, all right, the Lord's shifting us, he's moving us, but we don't know.
Yeah.
We felt like a big move would happen out of town. We didn't know where. And we were just praying and seeking the Lord as to what to do. um Things started getting uncomfortable, different relationships started changing and everything, which a lot of times the Lord will do that.
Right.
When the Lord is speaking to you to do something and you're not moving quick enough, he'll make life harder to
Right.
push you to move, right?
Right.
And so things started getting a little more difficult. And then so we knew we had a move coming, but we didn't know where.
Yeah.
And so we started getting a little antsy. I don't even know if I'm getting into too many details here. But
Hey, it's all you.
we started getting a little antsy. So we started praying as a family. And what we did was for 8 months, every other day we fasted. So we would eat a day, not eat a day, eat a day, not
For
eat a
8
day for
months.
8 months. And we did the whole family, me, Brennan, and the kids. Would fast with us as well. And the kids were younger at the time, so the way we handled fasting for the kids was we said that they could not eat anything until 2 o'clock. And so we figured they were skipping breakfast, they were skipping lunch, and we wanted them to feel hungry because we were teaching them to fast. But I mean, I'm talking I hope CPS isn't watching this, but I mean, they were young. They were, maybe between 2 and 5, all of them. And so we knew we couldn't let them go all day without eating. So, and we told them, look, we are praying for direction and we're all fasting as a family because we need the Lord to speak to dad on what's going to happen,
Yeah.
And so the kids knew while we were fasting. And then it got to where we still didn't hear it. And we like, oh, man, we really just want to know something. So Brandon said, I'm going away and I'm not coming back until the Lord speaks. And I was like, okay. So at the time we had a house that had a back house. And so he said, I'm going to lock myself in the
Okay.
back house and I'm just going to pray and fast until the Lord tells me where we're going. And I said, okay, see ya. So he was gone for about a week, just seeking the Lord for direction for our family. And he's done that a few times over the years. And so whenever he would do that, then I would prioritize seeking the Lord even more at those times. So I was seeking the Lord as well. So he came out and he said, the Lord spoke to me where we're going. And I said, really? Because the Lord spoke to me where we're going.
Wow.
And he said, okay, well, you go first. And I said, we're going to Rosenberg, Texas. And he said, we're going to Rosenberg, Texas.
Wow.
So the Lord
Both of you.
Yeah. So
Confirmation.
the Lord had spoke to both of us. Honestly, we did not know anybody in Rosenberg. I don't know why. We knew of a pastor,
Yeah.
but we really weren't like in a relationship with him or anything.
Right,
And we knew
right.
of one other family, but again, we really didn't know these people. We had gone into Rosenberg one time when he had made his CD. He went to that pastor's church to promote his CD, but that was it. So we really had no love or anything for Rosenberg. We don't know why. It's not like we had family there or anything, but we
Right.
just, other than the Lord said, it's Rosenberg, Texas. And he gave him a little bit more details. He told him that to watch, you're going to go, and at 2 years there's going to be a shift of something happening. And we didn't know what, but we knew to watch at around the 2-year mark, something there was going to be a change. So when we first went, we were a part of that church, so that pastor that we knew, and we submitted there, and we became leadership there. And then when I say literally overnight at 2 years, and we didn't even realize it was 2 years until after it happened, when we look back and we're like, wow, this is 2 years. We got out of that church and we felt like our time was done and we needed to do something else. And so then that's when we started planting his church, Rosenberg, there. Now that church plant was a lot different because we really didn't know anybody. We didn't have any resources. We didn't have money. We didn't have, in Westwego, his dad was a pastor here for so long, and his dad was a very loved man, and he was very well known in the community, even politically with City Hall and the mayors and everything. Even still to this day, the city council and the mayor, is on Brandon's cell phone. He could call any of them at any moment. We still have those connections here in Rosenberg, but we had the connections in Westwego, but in Rosenberg, we didn't know anybody. So we, even still now, it's different, and
Yeah.
it hasn't been as easy because it's like a pioneer work of us planting this church on our own and not riding, for lack of better words, on his dad's coattails
Right.
and on his
Right.
dad's connections, but for us making
Like,
our own connections there.
wow.
Yeah. And so, and you just, and no matter what, you just keep showing up and you just keep going. And when the finances aren't there, or when the people's not there, or people are leaving, and you, because it hurts when people leave,
Yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know what? The Lord called us here. The Lord gave us a vision for this city, and we know we're supposed to be here. So it doesn't matter. He's going to provide and he's going to make a way.
Yeah.
And so you just keep every day saying, yes, this is it. Yes, I'm answering the call, and this is what we're doing.
I mean, that's really good stuff,
Yeah.
because oftentimes people want to pull away.
Right. When it starts getting hard, you
Yeah.
feel like this couldn't be the Lord. It's
Well,
so
one,
easier, you know?
you see people pull away because it's like, it's not what I thought it was gonna be in
Mm-hmm.
regards to, like, yeah, this seems fun at the beginning, but probably, not the church that I want to be or be part of.
Right.
And yeah, you do see that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something different when when the Lord calls you to it, and
Yeah.
he's spoken to you
Mm-hmm.
to that, and you keep, staying the course.
Yeah.
Now, for yourself, do you feel like the Lord specifically called you for something? I know you're, being a mom, being a pastor's wife, you have, your daughter, your sister
Mm-hmm.
in Christ, do you feel like there's something that's you felt like, the Lord specifically called you to in ministry, or how to minister, to be an encourager,
Yeah.
to be hospitality?
Right. And it's crazy when I say this, but I truly believe that my calling is to help my husband.
Yeah.
And I can remember years ago,
Hmm.
when we were first married, it might have been within the first 5 years of being
Hmm.
married. Brandon had this, he would get these great ideas, and he would want to start this Bible study, or he want to start this outreach, or he want to start this ministry or whatever. And he would always go around and he would try to gather people to want to help him. Hey, I want to start doing this outreach. Do you want to be a part and help me? And we can do this. And he had
Yeah.
all these great ideas, and he was trying to find people to help him do it. And like, he would never find the help, and he was getting discouraged because he would have this great idea and he thought it was so great and wonderful, but other people just didn't see it as a good of an idea as he thought, right? And the Lord spoke to him and said, there is one person on this earth that I have anointed to be your helper, and that's your wife.
Wow.
So go to your wife, because she's anointed to help you. And we know that. We know that with Adam and Eve, that Eve was created to be Adam's helper, right? And so I truly do feel that I am my husband's helper.
Hmm.
And so, in whatever aspect, and so when it comes to the church, if he needs help, because obviously, personality wise, I have strong suits. I'm a lot more organized. I'm a planner. I can do events. I can
Yeah.
do things like that. I'm going to show up and it's all going to work out, And so, and that's not always the case. And so a lot of times I'll just plan and organize and let him think that he just showed up and it all worked out, right? so,
This is so
and
funny.
so whatever he needs, I feel like, and there's been different times over the years, even with business, where we've owned our own businesses and stuff.
Right.
And so it wasn't always the ministry, spiritual things. It's just whatever aspects in life that he needed a helper. I feel like that is what I'm called to do. And so when he had a glass business, I was running the glass
Hmm.
business. When we had the thrift store, then I did the
Yeah.
thrift store and whatever. So whatever it was. And so when his ministry needs a certain thing, like right now, we needed somebody to kind of oversee the children's department. So I'm overseeing the children's department,
Mhm.
and so just whatever that, I guess that would be where I truly feel now when it comes to the church, of course, as an older woman in the Lord, which is crazy to think, 'cause I don't think that I'm old, but I look around and I'm like, okay, yeah, I am old compared to some of these girls. Um, the Bible does say the older women to teach the younger women.
Right.
So, so in the church, obviously, I am there for the women in the church, and,
Yeah.
doing Bible studies and things like that.
Mhm.
But for me, that's all part of being the helper to my husband,
Yeah.
because that's his ministry.
And the Bible did point out there's ministry helps too as well. Like it
Right.
is there. And oftentimes, I think as women we overlook
Mhm.
that we're there because we think that we're already married to them.
Mhm.
So that, we do the things in the home, we take care of the home. But I mean, just hearing this of you coming alongside, so it goes even much more
Mhm. Oh,
for
yeah.
us as
Mhm.
women,
Mhm.
just coming alongside our husband and being side by side. And
Mhm.
I mean over the years, I mean everything that you're sharing here is it's not foreign to the
Mhm.
people that looked on. We've
Mhm.
seen this demonstrated, and we've seen how the consistency and the discipline and the commitment in that, and it shows,
Mhm.
because I mean, you guys, your family is
Mhm.
admirable.
Which is crazy for me to
But,
think, but
and I know it's crazy when people, probably say that, but it's admirable, but it's a lot of work.
yes, yes, it's not
It's
easy.
not
Mm-mm.
easy. So, it's just like over time,
Mhm.
there's work that goes through in doing that too as well.
Right.
I
Mhm.
mean, any other encouragement just for moms, young moms that, in regards to, any encouragement in regards to walking alongside your husband,
Mhm.
and really, because, like in marriage itself there's communication, right?
Mhm.
And we can have this communication like, well, the Lord didn't speak this to me.
Right. Yeah.
The Lord spoke that to you, but like there can
Mhm.
be, little um this communication and
Right.
a little conflict in there, and it can really pull
Mhm.
a husband away from a call,
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
or vice versa. You could really, and we've seen stuff like that happen,
Mhm.
and this is, it's just something that
Yeah.
you said I can really, you know bring an encouragement or a tip in regards
Yeah, it's
to
important
why
as a
to why
wife to remember that our husbands are the head of the home. And sometimes it's hard and you don't want to submit and you don't want to listen and stuff, but whenever they've made a decision, we have to submit, right? We have to submit to our husbands. And so there is that. Now there is also a point where husbands have to understand their wives' strong suits too, and there's communication, and
Mhm.
I think for us, like I said, we've been married 21 years, so we've really worked on that communication, and we completely understand
Mhm.
areas that he's strong in and areas that I'm strong in. There's some things that, yes, he's the head, but he has no desire to be a part of, and he has completely handed that over to me. And he says, this is your responsibility because this is what you're strong in. And I don't even care to touch it, just if I need to be a part, let me know. But other
Yeah.
than that, you can have that. And so it's important for couples to understand who's good at what and all that stuff and let them have their places. Um, but, oh, I had something I was gonna say and it left me. But so and then also, like you was mentioning as far as wives, when our husbands speak to us and they tell us, "Okay, this is what the Lord is saying," or even if they don't say this is what the Lord is saying, but you see that he is walking in a direction that's pleasing to the Lord.
Mhm.
He's trying to get the kids more involved in church, or he's trying to do Bible studies, or he's trying to do these things. It's important as wives for us to help and support them to do that and not be a hindrance. Yeah, there may be days, especially if you're a stay at home mom, you're home with the kids all day and it's in the evening and you're just tired and worn out and you don't want to have to get leave the house, or the kids have been acting up all day and the last thing you want to do is bring them in public and have them go to
Yeah.
church where they have to sit still and be quiet. But you know what, if your husband is making that choice of, hey, no, we're going to start prioritizing this, don't make a problem for him. Do it. Support him. Now, that doesn't mean you can't speak. You can say, "Look, it's been a really long day. I'm going to go with you, but I'm going to need extra help with the kids today."
Right.
You know,
Right.
and communicate that with him and
Yeah.
let him know that, "Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. If you can help me, that would be great." You
Right.
know, but be that support and don't do anything to hinder your husbands, cuz so often you're right, our husbands feel that need to please us. And sometimes they want to please us. Sometimes they just don't want to argue with us. Sometimes they just don't want to create a problem.
Yeah.
So they're doing things just to not make an issue. But we can't be those kinds of wives. We can't be the wives that our
Mhm.
husbands is afraid to stand up and tell us what they need to do, or that we need to go after the Lord in a certain way because they're afraid of our reaction. We
Mhm.
need to be the wives that's going to support our husbands and make it easier for them to make those decisions that's going to ultimately benefit our family in the
Mhm.
end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's that. I mean, that's really, great advice there.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes it's like, you know, it's just that bridging that gap.
Mhm.
Because I believe that once we be open, we share our feeling of having a long day. It's been
Mhm.
tough, like, you know, just what happened in the home, because we feel like we're so at home doing everything and nobody sees.
Right, right. Yeah. Mhm.
Our husband's been out, so they've had
Mhm.
didn't have to deal with the things in the
Right.
home, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a good
Yeah.
point in regards to the support, because you
Right.
know what, this is gradually gonna grow,
Mhm.
and we're gonna move on, and kids are gonna grow up, and they're
Yeah,
gonna move along,
absolutely.
and it is just for a time, but I think that there's something learning in that, because I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
all of this had really have grown you,
Yeah, for
you know.
sure. And communicate. I can remember so because a lot of times I'm home with the kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
homeschooling and everything. And Brandon, he'll be out doing other things. He might be counseling with people, he might be working or
Hmm.
just doing different things, and he's away from the house a lot of times. Well, he comes home in the afternoon and he's just ready to hang out with the kids and do a family game or a play or whatever. Well, I've been with the kids all day. And so I'm ready to just go be by myself or go, or sometimes it's simple as I need to go to the grocery store and
Yeah.
I'm going to go grocery shopping. And he's like, "Oh, bring a kid with you." And I'm like, "No, I'm going to leave it." And he would tell me things like, "Babe, you can't always leave and then leave the kids behind and always tell them no." And then finally one day I said, "Bran, you got to realize I'm with the kids all day,
Sweet.
every day. You're not here all day long. Not that it's a bad thing, but you're not. So when I want 20 minutes to go to
Mhm.
the grocery store by myself, you need to let me have the 20 minutes." I said, "And honestly, it's going to be better for all of us for me to have that 20 minutes to
Yeah.
clear my head, to actually think about whatever groceries I need to buy and not have them asking me for a million things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll come home refreshed and ready to go."
Yeah.
And so, and I guess he just never thought about it like that. And so once I explain it to him, now as the kids are yelling, "Mom, can I come? Mom, come." I hear him say, "No, guys, mom needs to go and just have some time alone." So it's
Yeah.
important. It doesn't need to be you don't need to wait till it's a big old argument and a big old fight and all that stuff. But voice those things to each other
Yeah.
and let each other know, "Hey,
Mhm.
this is look, yeah, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to leave all the kids because I just don't want to ever be with the kids. I'm just having my 15,
Yeah.
20 minutes at the grocery, and so I can clear my head. And the other thing I've realized just as a mom and as a woman and just counseling with ladies over the years is we all go through the same things
Mhm.
and we all deal with the same things
Yeah.
and we deal with the same struggles and the same kid issues or husband issues or whatever. But for some reason, ladies don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we all think we're the only ones that deal with that.
Yeah.
But then once you start talking to somebody else and you realize,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait, you deal with this too
Yeah.
and you're dealing with that," then you realize, "Hey, I'm really not alone in this,"
Yeah.
you know? And so it's important to find somebody that maybe has kids close your age or in a place in life or even somebody who's a little further along that you can reach out to
Mhm.
and be okay with sharing it because a lot of times just talking about it just lifts the
Yeah.
weight.
Mhm.
And then you realize, "Hey, I'm um I'm not I'm not bad. I'm normal." It's normal to think these things and I'm not the only one that's
Yeah.
going through this.
And I think you're right on that, because I could say that I had to break out of that,
Mhm.
being open, being vulnerable, sharing.
Mhm.
And, like I've inched ways into that. Like, yeah, like I'm personable, but there's just certain things like I'm probably not gonna share
Yes. Right. Right.
that.
Right. Yeah. Mm,
Probably they don't need to hear that.
mhm.
But then I think that the Lord gives wisdom and just finding somebody,
Right.
that He can put into your life that you can share from one woman to another.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's that accountability that
Mhm.
we can pray for each other,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
And I mean that's awesome. That's awesome. So um is there like date nights for mom and dad?
Absolutely. Yes.
How does it
Yeah.
look like?
You have to.
Yeah,
It varies. And I can remember, so now things are a little bit easier because I have older kids. So
yeah.
I can leave the younger kids home with the older kids.
Mhm.
But when the older kids were younger, especially, when we lived here, it wasn't so bad because I had my parents that could help. But once we moved to Texas, like I didn't have
Right,
babysitters. I
right.
didn't know anybody,
Mhm.
and they were too young to leave home. So sometimes our date night was simply put the kids to bed and put chocolate chip cookies in the oven, and we're gonna eat cookies and ice cream while the kids are in bed,
Yeah.
And when they come out because they smell like cookies, nope, you're going back in there because this is just for mommy and daddy, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
And just to make that time alone where it was just us. And then of course, you had times when, okay, we're gonna go somewhere, but we don't really have a whole lot of money, so we're
Right.
just gonna go to Taco Bell. And then
Yeah.
um but then there are other times where, we would splurge, and,
Mhm.
where, anniversary or something and we
Right.
would go out. But it's a very important. Parents need to have time
Yeah.
alone, and you need to have date nights, and you need to prioritize that. And because the thing is, when kids come, they're so demanding and
Mhm.
they take so much attention and they take so much time and they want all of your attention
Yeah.
all of the time,
Yeah.
right? But you got to remember is there's going to be a day where those kids are going to grow up and they're going to be out of the house. And then it's just going to be you and your husband again.
Okay.
And I see where parents, they take those years where they focus so much on their kids
Mhm.
and they stop focusing on each other. And then once the kids are gone, then it's like there's nothing left with
Yeah.
them. And we were the ones that fell in love with each other to begin with. And
Right.
it's not a bad thing to love your husband more than you love your kids, because he was there first. He's the one that you fell in love with, right?
Right.
And then the kids came. And so you have to prioritize
Yeah.
your relationship. You have to prioritize your time. And however, and I mean, there's been times where we just will leave the house and go sit at Sonic and get a drink, a slushie or something,
Yeah.
and just sit there. So a date can be anything. It could be
Mhm.
something very simple or it could be something extravagant. And then we've also done things as big as, going on vacations without the kids,
Right. Right.
and it's all important,
Yeah.
to have that alone time for sure. Mhm.
No, how would you say it is like whenever you get the opportunity? Like, would it be once a month? Do you guys have a time or whenever or did it
It
fluctuate?
fluctuates.
But you
Yeah, we
made
don't
time
really,
for it.
yeah. But I mean, at any moment that either I or he says, "Hey, let's go on a date," we
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Or any time, or there'll even be times when he'll come home and he'll realize, "Oh, okay, it's a little stressful around here," and he'll be like, "I'm taking mom and we're leaving." So I mean, we never put it off. Like
Yeah.
if one of us says that we need that, then we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
What would you say would be like the perfect date that you're waiting for later on?
Oh my.
The- What's the perfect date for Erin later on? That when you do get that chance, what did you ever had an idea or think about like what this is what I want to do when I can get to do
Oh my
it?
goodness, I don't even know. I love to eat, so my dates always involve food.
What's your
And so,
favorite? What's your favorite
um,
dish or what's your favorite type of food? Like
probably my favorite type of food, honestly, is Italian, but we don't go out to eat Italian very much because Brandon says I could cook it better at home than any restaurant we go in. So he never wants to spend money on that.
Right.
Um, and honestly, and we don't do it often because it's expensive,
Right.
but we really do enjoy fancy
Yeah.
So, like, we love those five-star restaurants where
Really?
everything's yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
What's your favorite that you've been to or you really like?
Um, wow. So here in New Orleans, you have Mr. John's. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mr.
I've
John's, but it's
I've
it's a
never heard of
steakhouse.
it.
Yeah. They're probably our first one we went to, and
Really?
that kind of set the standard. And when I mean, I don't know, we were young too, but it was an anniversary or something. And so we sitting there, and you go in, and they actually match your napkin to your clothes. So if you're wearing
Really?
light colors, they're gonna give you a white napkin, but
Wow.
if you're wearing dark colors, they're gonna give you a dark
All
napkin.
right.
And then like, we were drinking tea and, like I mean, I'm telling you, because we were young, so we tested them.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you put, like, your sweet and low paper down or whatever, they had a guy coming, and he had, like, this little special tool, and he wouldn't, like, grab it, he would, like, nudge it off to the end of the table and grab it and leave it.
Wow.
And so yeah, I mean, it was and we like, "Wow." We are like, "This" I mean, the service is just
Yeah.
impeccable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was good. Um, you have the Emerald Lagasse restaurants
Okay.
here. We've liked those. We've
Yeah.
Fogo de Chao, we've done that one a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that one's a kind of a little more normal one. That one's a easy to get to, but it's still fancy. Okay, my ultimate favorite. What is the name of it? It's in New Orleans. It's at a hotel. Mm,
I can't help you
the
because I don't
hotel
know.
is the hotel is the Windsor Court in New Orleans.
Okay, the
We
win
pass it when
okay.
actually you're leaving from the training center to go and down
Okay, win
to Bourbon Street. It's the Windsor Court, and they have a restaurant in there
Yeah.
that is just
Yeah.
amazing. It
Yeah.
is so good. So I can't even think of it, but the food is good. And then as you eat, the chef will bring out tastings for you that they cook
Wow.
in something in the back, and they just want you to try it. And so
Really?
and then they have the guy on the grand piano playing music and stuff like that. So like I said, it's expensive. We don't do it often,
But that's
but
something, yeah.
we really
Absolutely.
enjoy those. And sometimes you just have to spoil yourself and spoil each other and do those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
What does birthdays look like in the Dixon's house? What does that look like?
So I really, really prioritize birthdays
Oh, really?
because we are a big family and because we're a ministry family, and our family does so much for other people.
Right.
And there's always other people in our house. We're always doing things. So when it comes to birthdays, and because our kids, because there's so many of them, they don't ever really get their own special thing,
Mhm.
right? Because I mean, I'm not going to go to the store and buy like toys for everybody every time, you know? And things like that. So when it comes to their birthdays, we do make a big deal and really kind of honor, excuse me, each of those kids for their birthdays.
Yeah.
Um, and so they get to pick whatever meal they want that night. It's got to be something that I cook. As they get older, they want to do all this fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But so it has to be a meal that mom cooks.
Yeah.
And so I'll cook whatever they want, no matter what it is. For Brandon, actually, I can't tell you for how many years his birthday meal was SpaghettiOs.
Mhm.
And I'm not a fan of SpaghettiOs, but we had SpaghettiOs for dinner when it was his birthday. Um, and so and then they'll get to pick out whatever dessert would be their
Mhm.
cake, that we sing happy birthday to, and then we do gifts. I don't do a big birthday party every
Okay.
year for
Okay.
each of them just because I'd be doing birthday parties
Yeah.
all the time. But we do honor that kid. And usually we'll try to take off of work that day or whatever and go
Yeah.
someplace, go to a park, go do something that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think I'm not sure you do it still, but you say you've always taken off a day just for the family, like a Monday. Was that something you did back
Yeah.
then? Back then, you said that.
We did. We're not as good with that anymore, but a lot of times we did have Mondays would be like our family day
Okay.
where we didn't do school and we didn't do like any kind of ministry. And honestly, because we were so busy on the weekends with
Yeah.
ministry and stuff like that and Sunday is supposed to be like the Sabbath, it's supposed to be the day of the rest,
Uh-huh.
whatever. But when you're in ministry,
Yeah.
Sunday is your busiest day.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is not restful for a ministry family at all.
Mhm.
So for Mondays, it really was like our recoup day that we
Mhm.
could, just kind of breathe and take it easy. But honestly, as the kids got older and they started, you had baseball and soccer and
Yeah.
homeschool co-ops and stuff like that,
Right.
then you realize that all these other things don't prioritize your Monday. So it was
Mhm.
kind of hard to keep that up.
Yeah.
But it is important to have family time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes just saying, "Hey, okay, no, we're not gonna have people over at the house. We're gonna focus on
Hmm.
the kids."
You got it. I mean, like, I think you really shared so much. And I mean, like, in regards to some really good points covering marriage, covering ministry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, wins, losses.
Yeah.
Is there, I mean, like, is there anything else that you say that you would probably, um, what is one truth through all of this? One truth, God's truth, a truth that you've held on to through all these 21 years, through being young parents, young
Mhm.
pastors, 25, being called to ministry,
Yeah.
having a large family, you know, being through the ups, the downs, in times of, you're saying, financial struggle, in times
Mhm.
of probably grieving, in times of, rejoicing, in times
Mhm.
of just seeing a wow moment, like, man, like, this is a move of God. Like, what is one truth in closing that you'd say that, man, like, that you hold on to, as a woman of God, as a mom, you know?
That no matter what, Jesus is good.
Yeah.
He is so,
And what
so
encouragement you can
good.
leave for
And
women? Like, what's your
yeah,
final, would you
um,
say?
yeah, I guess that would be it, that Jesus is good. And there's been time, in life, there's things we look forward to that may not work out or whatever. And anytime we've going through something or going after something that didn't work out the way we planned, we always just say, you know what? We are going after the Lord. We are living for him. We are right with him. And we know that we are right with him and that he's leading us and guiding us. And if this doesn't work out, or this hope or this dream, there's a reason. And Jesus is still good. And we say, okay, it didn't work out, and we'll see what's going to be next. No matter what, in the good times and the bad times, when things are hard, when things are difficult, he's still good. He's
Yeah.
still God. And we need to just remember that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything that you want to tell your kids, tell your Pastor Brandon, the one that you've prayed for at the age of 12,
Yes.
that he would be a preacher's kid, love
Mhm.
the Lord, and be good looking?
Yes.
Is there-
Well, he knows that I still think he is the best looking guy
Yeah.
on the earth. I tell him all the time that he's my guy, and he was definitely, and I feel like the Lord really did make me the wife that he needed
Well, yeah.
and made him the
Yeah.
husband for me, because
Yeah.
I say all the time that there is nobody else that could put up with me like he
Yeah.
puts up with me, right? And so I do. I love my husband. I love my kids. I love being a mom. And more than anything else, being a wife to my husband and being a mom to my kids is the greatest joy
Yeah.
that I can have. Mhm.
That's awesome. I mean, it was a pleasure having you
Yes,
on.
it was so good
In
meeting you. I had such a
and
good time.
and you're perfect in front of camera.
Oh
So,
wow. Well, good, good.
I guess you're just an easy talker, and because, life is real for you.
Yeah.
Living this out is nothing that it's kind of like you're trying to figure out. It's like, you're living this life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything you've shared,
Yeah.
you've lived it through like, every area,
Mhm.
and you're still standing. Just to think that after a twin, I mean, like, I'm only this year's gonna make my husband and I 8 years of marriage, and we're now getting into it. We're
Mhm.
now getting into it. So, it's just awesome just to see, both you, Pastor Brandon, your family live this through, because it's an encouragement to me as a woman.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
woman that's,
Amen.
um, you know, wanting to walk that, and seeing it lived out, so it
Mhm.
makes it much easier. I can look at these examples, I can call up.
Yes, yes, I'm
So yeah.
available. Definitely. Like I tell girls all the time, like when you're going through things and you just don't know what to do, call me, message me. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I love talking about these kind of things. I guess that's why it was easy today, because these are
Yeah, these are just
these
real,
easy topics.
it's
Yeah.
real life
Mhm.
issues, and like you've made mention, like, we're not alone.
No. Mm-mm.
We're alone. Find somebody that you can be open, be vulnerable,
Mhm.
or call Erin.
Yes,
Call Erin.
yes, yes.
Hopefully, I didn't put you in a spot. Everybody starts
No.
messaging Erin, but yeah, that's it. Because I do believe that when we have things hidden, the enemy works on that.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
works on that, and he wants us to think that we're all
Yeah.
alone.
You
But
start
here it
growing
is.
resentment
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time
Yes, thanks for having
and
me.
coming and just sharing with us. And once again, unless the Lord builds the house, Kim Arismendez and my good friend here.
Erin Dickson.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Bye.